So far we've narrowed down these two columns and the top row. But there's another thing to look at here, which is in this column, the 7 has to be in this cell here, either in either of these two places. So we actually can't have a 7 here. That has to be a 6, and so we know the 7 has to be there. You might notice as I fill numbers in, the possibilities, the little blue numbers, the pencil marks disappear. You need to be really careful with this because you don't want something to disappear that actually is a possibility. So let's look at the second row. We need two numbers that can add to 7. So it could be 1 and 6. So if we had 1 and 6 here, then the only numbers left in this row would be 3 and 4 here. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that, so it can't be 2 and 5 because we already have 2 and 5. So it's 3 and 4. Then if we had 3 and 4 there, that would have to be 1 and 6 here. So, but then we kind of run into a problem here because in this box, you can't have a 1 because there's a 1 in this column already. You can't have a 6 because we have a 6 up there. So this can't be a 1 or a 6. It has to be a 3 or 4. So we know that this 12 times has to be 3 times 4, and therefore this has to be 1 and 6 here. So let's look at what we have. Here we know that this has to be a 3 or a 4. So this has to be 3 times 4 is 12. So the only thing that can be in this box, if we know that this has to be 3 and 4, is a 1. Well, that tells us that this is a 7 and that this is a 1. And if you watch, now that we know that this is a 7, we know that this has to be a 6 and this has to be a 7. So that's great. We've made a lot of progress. Let's find another column that looks like we can work with. How about this column here? We already have 3 numbers filled in. 2 numbers that can divide by 2. Divide 2. So we could do 1 and 2, but we are already using the 1. We could do 2 and 4, so that's a possibility. We could do 3 and 6, but we're already using the 6, so that's not a possibility. So really 2 and 4 are our only possibilities. So the 2 numbers that divide to 2 have to be 2 and 4. So checking this column though, knowing that the 2 and 4 has to be here, we know that this has to be a 3 and that has to be a 4. So now we've really filled in a lot of this column. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one we don't know where it goes is a 5, so that's got to be there. And it has to add to 8, so that's a 3. So this next column, I'm not going to narrate as I fill in. I think I'll just let you figure it out as I go. Okay, so you can see these 3 numbers here that add to 13 have to be a 2, 5, and 6. We don't know where they are. So we've done 4 columns now and only 2 rows. So let's do another row. Let's do this third row here. Again, we're doing 2 numbers that divide to 2. It can't be 1 and a 2 because we have a 1 there. So again, it could be a 2 and a 4, and it can't be a 3 and a 6 for the same reason. We have a 6 there, so we know that this has to be 2 and 4. So the only other thing that is missing from this row is a 3 and a 5. So we know here we could have a 3 and a 5. Here we could have a 3, but we can't have a 5 because there's no way you can multiply something by 5 and get 12. So this one has to be the 3, so we know that this one has to be the 5. So now that we've worked that row, let's take this third column. So in this column, we've already filled in these 2 boxes. Let's look at this thing that multiplies to 12. So we already have the 3. So now we need to find 2 numbers that we can multiply together to make 4. Well, we can do 2 and 2, but that won't work because the 2's have to be in the same column. So it has to be 1 and 4. You'll see as I try to enter 1 in as a note, there's going to be a red light flashing on this 1, and it's saying, no, you can't put a 1 there because there's already a 1 in this row. So it's kind of a clue. You have to have the 4 there, and then we know we have to have the 1 here. So here, where we were wondering if this was a 1 or a 6, we know that's a 6, and we know that's a 1. So we're making a lot of progress on this column. The numbers that are missing here, we have a 1, so we need a 2 and a 7. And a 5, 2, 5, and 7. So 2 and 5 can be up here. The 7 either has to be in either of these 2 boxes. So the 7 can be here, or this could be a 2 or 5. We really don't know.